Hi everyone, I'm Anjana Bhat. I am the DRPP Director. DRPP stands for Developmental Research Pilot Program of Delaware INBRE. So this is a component where we support PIs to conduct research. And we offer two major mechanisms, pilot projects and research projects. And this fall, what we'll be competing are just pilot projects. So the process of the review and applications will happen in fall of this year, and that once the awards are received, the research will be conducted over May 2026 to April 2027. And I don't do this work alone. I do it with the support of the Research Development Committee that includes faculty across our network institutions. So this grant covers and supports research across not only University of Delaware, but Delaware State University, Nemours Children's Hospital, Christiana Care Hospital System, and we do this not just with the help of the RDC, but also guidance from our DE-INBRE or Delaware INBRE PI, Melinda Duncan. And yeah, we are very excited that we have our renewal and are able to offer this request for applications this fall. The overall mission for Delaware INBRE is to build capacity within the state of Delaware to promote biomedical research. And within DRPP, the main focus is to support the research of early stage and new investigators. Early stage investigators are those that are within 5 years of their terminal degree, and the new investigators are those that don't have an R award or a major grant, federal grant. And so the hope is that if we support their early research stages, then that allows them to collect pilot data to apply for larger grants to various federal agencies, primarily NIH, but also other agencies. And these labs then serve as training sites for undergraduate and graduate students, and that is another major mission for Delaware INBRE, training of students. And then the other purpose we have is to balance our funding across institutions. We, as I list here, these are our four major institutions as well as Wilmington VA. And we are interested in not only supporting the faculty at the universities, University of Delaware and Dell State University, but also clinician and research scientists at the two healthcare systems, so Nemours Children's Hospital and Christiana Care Healthcare System. The other main goal for NIGMS, the institute that supports IDEA grants, is to encourage data science. And so we have a specific mechanism where we promote the analysis of Delaware-based data sets. We call it the Delaware Data Science Award. And so I will talk a little bit about that. In general, we are noticing, unusual delays in terms of grants starting at NIH. And so even when we are trying to get grants awarded, data set based studies are easier to get approval for. So that is one thing to consider as PIs. If you have the ability to ask the same research question using data sets for small grants like $40,000, which is what the budget is for a pilot award, I would encourage you to consider data set analyses, whether of Delaware-based data sets or outside larger data sets, national data sets. There is value in considering that for smaller grants like these. But that doesn't mean we will not support. We will support. It just is taking a little longer to get those approvals from NIH. And then this year, we are not offering the research project mechanism, which is $80,000 for 2 years. That will be offered every other year, so it'll come back next year. And so there is a possibility of a PI receiving the smaller grant, which is the pilot project, and then later applying for the larger 80,000 award. And so that could support a faculty's career or a scientist's career over multiple years. But again, that is not common, but that is possible. The RFA for our DE-INBRE grants are now, or the RFA is open. This is the website for it. All you have to do is go to Google and type Delaware INBRE. And once you go to the website, you will see a yellow tab at the top, or you can go to Pilot Award apps. Both of those lead you to the same RFA, and all the details are provided here. The deadlines, what we intend to support, who is eligible, the different funding categories or award types, what are the requirements for mentors, any other details in terms of how to fill out the different forms and documents related to your application. And then also contacts that you will need a lot of help from your research contact at Nemours, that is Ranita Chakrabarti, at CCHS, that is Claire Rudolph, and then at UD, that is Dawn Everhart. And so you want to reach out to your research contacts to understand how to complete your budget forms and special NIH forms. And then you, of course, need the support of your mentor to start writing the grant application, the scientific portion of it. There are other resources, but most importantly, the template samples and videos. So this recording, as well as the PDF, will be posted here. This is from last year, but once all our talks are done, all the files will be posted here, and we have provided a lot of templates as well as samples and tried to make this process more streamlined for you. So I will go through those details now in this talk. So the application timeline, the two important dates that you need to remember are October 8th is the deadline for the letter of intent. Then the full proposal, the full application is due November 3rd. And then the review process happens. You will hear back from us mid-January. And then a lot more forms need to be provided. There are NIH forms and IRB, IACUC approvals need to be in place by then. And your just-in-time paperwork is submitted to NIH so it's March 3rd is when it reaches us, and then within a month's time, it is submitted to NIH for the grant to begin in May. And as I said, there are these unusual delays happening right now, and the more complex the grant, the more perhaps human subjects or animals, models, research, it's taking longer to get it approved. So if you can consider answering your research question in a different way and keeping that project small, that it can be completed in a shorter period of time, that might just benefit you, because we do have some projects that we are still waiting to hear on from the last cycle. And overall, this whole process happens through the PyStar RFX system. This is the link. And so use this one. And our contacts are as follows. So myself, Anjana, will help you in writing any of those forms. If you need help in figuring out what to write in a particular form, how to, put your grant together, any questions related to that are generally about grant writing, I'm able to help. But of course, I'm not an expert in your field, so your mentor will be able to help you the most in terms of how to put the grant application together. Anything related to budget, you can first work with Ranita. Ranita is your contact for Nemours, or Claire, who's your contact for CCHS, or Dawn at UD. And then if you still have questions, they will reach out to Dawn and see if those can be answered. And then Linda is your contact for PyStar. So if you're running into issues with login and not able to see things, or something is not working, she would be the person who would help you with that. And we have a general email, and that itself will be directed to the right person depending on what your question is. So these are the mechanisms or the categories within the pilot project mechanism. We have around 11 every year for the next 5 years. And then each of these grants are around 40K per year for 1 year only. And as I said, with the delays, this could go down to 8 months. So try to propose limited ideas, and also ideas that can be done in a short period of time. The effort required is 25% research effort. It's not necessarily on this project, but it's to protect your time as a clinician or a faculty to make sure you have time to do research. So that commitment letter has to be provided by the chair. The mentor is required for a new early stage investigator. That's the idea of these grants, that you receive some mentoring in conducting research effectively. And so that is a requirement for anybody who's a new and early stage investigator. So with these requirements, there are four different types of awards you can apply for. Delaware Data Science is mainly accessing these particular data sets. It's important to note that senior PIs can apply to this because the idea is to promote Delaware data science. And the same thing applies to booster awards. Senior PIs can apply to that. And it's very similar to the SHORE mechanism of CTR Axel, where if you have a grant that was recently reviewed and was scored but not funded, and they're asking for additional data, those pilot studies can be done through these funds, and therefore this is open to senior PIs as well. But all other, and yeah, there is a mechanism that is saved for new and early stage investigators. That is the takeoff mechanism. Here, it's only for new and early stage, so not for senior PIs. The goal is to fund new research directions, nascent studies where no pilot data is required. The last mechanism we added last year was high-end core facility awards. So this is specifically to use the facilities within the Delaware INBRE core facilities at any of the institutions related to Delaware INBRE. So methods like RNA sequencing can be very expensive, and so to budget that, can be very hard on a grant. So specifically, these are to budget for those types of experiments. This can again be open to senior and early/new investigators. This requires a letter from the core director stating that that experiment can be done at their site. And these are the list of facilities at this link that you can look at and see if there is some type of experiment that is done at these facilities that you would need financial support for. One thing I did want to specify is that if you're using data sets that are national and not Delaware based, you can still apply to the takeoff or the booster mechanism, and you can apply to this mechanism to analyze other data sets. They don't always have to be Delaware data sets, but use other categories instead. The eligibility for a PI is they have to have independent investigator status at their institution. They have to be able to engage in research for around 25% of their effort. So if a calendar year is 12 months, that amounts to 3 months of research effort, and that has to be documented and confirmed by your chair. They have to be at one of those four institutions I stated before, and they can be either or, new or early stage or senior investigators, depending on the grant. As you know, takeoff is reserved for the new and early stage. The others are open to all. The mentor themselves need to have experience mentoring and need to show a commitment to the PI's career. They have to be experts in that area of research. And at Nemours, you have Rob Akins and a whole program of mentoring. And then at UD, you will find a mentor that aligns with your research. You can have more than one mentor, somebody that is supporting you on understanding how your career trajectory can be at your institution, and then somebody else who is your research mentor. And that doesn't always have to be at the same institution, but it would be advisable to have one mentor that is at the institution. And then you cannot apply if you have another idea grant. So that's important to remember. If you have an idea grant right now that ends in April, Yes, you can apply now to DE-INBRE and be awarded an award that starts May 26. But you can't have concurrent IDEA grants. And so that is something to pay attention to. And it's better to pace out your awards where you have 1 year, perhaps a CTR, and next year a Delaware INBRE, and so on and so forth. But you cannot have two of them at the same time. The one thing that is important is there is a letter required from the mentor. And so that is something that you will have to work with your mentor ahead of time. Don't leave this to the last minute. Identify your mentor, speak to them, and develop that letter, along with them, because they should know what your goals are to write that letter effectively. So these are the submission steps. The first one, as I said, is the October 8th deadline, where you have to submit a 1 to 2 page letter of intent. And that requires just information on the study title, a brief description of the project, who you want as reviewers, who are involved in this research. The reason why we ask for reviewers in your area are because then we, find a proper fit. They should not have any conflicts with you as they review these grants. So that is explained in the LOI. The full proposal is due November 3rd, and that requires this special NIH form called SF-24. So make sure you work with your research contact, and I mentioned those before. They are also listed on the last slide to complete this standard form. And then there are other documents that go as part of your packet: specific aims, research strategy, letters of support from your collaborators or sites that you're accessing to conduct your research. And then also other pieces of information, such as the budget form, which is a standard NIH budget form. You will need your contacts' help for that, and justification or explanation of how those line items are going to be useful to the project. There is an undergraduate inclusion plan, an individualized development plan, and a mentoring letter. These documents, the template for that and samples are posted on the website, the Delaware INBRE website that I just showed. Letter from the chair is again a template that is provided to you, so you can have your chair fill that out. If you're doing animal studies, you need to provide a vertebrate animal use section. If you're doing human subject studies, you need to provide a clinical trial form. And not many people are doing studies that require a clinical trial form. So if you think yours does, please ask for help and I will help you fill out the form. There's a lot more detail to it. And again, given that this is a 40K grant, I would encourage you to not go into a full-fledged clinical trial. It's not possible to do it at this much money. And then prior success statement is a document where you describe what happened as a result of prior IDEA funding. So if you've had a CTR grant or another COBRI grant, and how did that go? What were some of the papers or conference abstracts that came through that, and any grants that were written as a result? Then we conduct an NIH style review. We try to find 3 reviewers for your application. And then we follow the same review system as NIH. We have an impact score, we have criterion scores. We also make sure that this fits our mechanism. And then ultimately, the RDC recommends fund as is, revise and resubmit, or do not fund. And that information is provided to you in March. In mid-January, not March, in mid-January. And then you have another list of forms that are due March 3rd, so that we can compile your application, send it to NIH, and hopefully it will start around May. But again, with the recent delays, this has been going on into the fall semester. The 2 things to remember is try to get your IRB, IACUC, or data use agreements in place between November to March 3rd, because otherwise on March 3rd you'll be delayed and then the award cannot move forward. And so we need these approvals to be in place by March 3rd. Also, you will have to sign an agreement with us before your work begins. And so at the moment, our focus is on helping you complete an application, write the letter of intent, write the full application. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I will be, so this is, I have posted a link on the chat, within the chat. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., we have a templates review Zoom call where I will take you through each of the templates as well as samples to explain what goes in the different sections of a NIH grant. And so if you are available, you can join the call, or we will post a recording on the DE-INBRE website, our RFA page, under templates and sample files. So you can see the recording there in the future. And that's it. Yeah, you already know what the process is going to be. These are your contacts within Delaware INBRE. These are your research contacts for your various institutions. And these are your mentoring contacts. At Nemours, it is Rob Akins. At CCHS, it is Susan Smith. And at UD, please reach out to me. I'm able to, if I'm able to help find a mentor for you, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you very much.